All right, let's talk about corporate venturing. Big corporates are coming to the startup world. So now here we have Nils. He comes from Stockholm and representing TeliaSonera's corporate venturing arm. So we have a little discussion about what's happening in the corporate venturing world and what is it.
Yeah.
Should we sit down?
Yeah, I think we should.
Yes,
it's more comfortable.
Okay, good morning. How are you?
I'm fine. Enjoying a sunny day in Helsinki?
Yes, very good. Okay, so we should talk about corporate venturing and what does it mean and how are startups related to corporates? Are corporates interested in startups or not?
Yes, they are. But corporates are, big organizations and want to keep up with the fast-moving innovation. I mean, and one way to get a lot of influences is to work with startups. Mm-hmm. And also the definition of startup is also quite broad because some people still think that Facebook is a startup. Or
I don't think
Spotify.
Spotify could be still.
1,000 people, it's...
Probably
but anyway, so corporates want to work with those new players, fast-moving players, learn not only about technology, but also about ways of working.
Yeah.
New ways of working, being more flexible, agile.
Okay, could you tell a little bit about your own background? I think you've been in some different kind of corporate venture. You've been in investment banking, and now you come back to corporate. Can you really briefly tell you about what you've been doing before?
Yes, I'm an engineer from the beginning. So did a lot with computers as a teenager and did engineering. And then I moved more into finance. I made an MBA, and I was at Swisscom Ventures, which is a very different animal from Telia, for many reasons. And then I was at an investment bank called Catachina Capital, which is now Brian Garnier.
Yep.
They got acquired. So I've seen both on the investment side, and then when you actually sell those companies. So for example, I as an advisor, I sold the company to Microsoft, which was very interesting. Because that's the purpose of the investment is that, you make an investment and then you sell the company for a lot of money. That's why you do it.
Exactly, unless you're looking for a strategic partnership, and it's different from investing, right? Because there's like 3 different categories, easily separate from the corporates towards startups, like strategic partnerships, investments, and then M&A.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and then what do you see like if you talk about startups, corporations, what do you see about the upsides for the both? Upsides and downsides on what they could be, like what's the benefits? Obviously for startup, the benefit is access to large customer base.
I think the key thing is that the corporate that you work with, that they actually can deliver. They're part of the story, because when a startup has very limited money and resources, and when they engage into something with a big corporate, they think that big corporate will solve all the problems. They will have lots of resources, they will be a big customer, but that is not always happening. And I think that's a lot of frustration happens with some of the kind of acceleration programs with big companies. It's a lot of nice meetings, but there is no business, there is no... So I think it's really important that the corporate partner can actually roll this out in different countries and make things happen.
Yeah, and maybe a different kind of corporate ventures. Of course, there's a lot of different corporations, so there's also a lot of different corporate venturing and cooperation with startups. Could you maybe tell me some example how different some other corporations are operating or investing?
Yeah. So I think the most famous one is, of course, Intel Capital, and they've been around for a very long time.
They were supposed to be here too, but they got some emergency. You apparently know something about it.
Yeah, reorganization.
Yeah, okay.
And it's also, if you Google a bit, there are rumors that they're going to shut down or sell off parts of Intel Capital. There's been articles in Bloomberg and stuff about it, so I think they have a valid reason not for being here.
Okay.
But they've been around for more than 20 years, and they have a global team. I think they have 200 people. Basically they have people in Asia, Israel, US, Latin America, all over Europe. And that's Intel Capital is a separate company from Intel. So they have.
But it comes from Intel balance sheet or not?
No, it's a completely different company.
Completely different. Okay.
So they separate that. And there are a few others that have that setup, where they actually have a separate unit, which it's more like a VC, where they only have one investor. Because normally VCs have many, and in this case, Intel is the only investor and the only partners. And you have also Nokia Growth Partners. They have a similar setup where Nokia is the only investor into that fund, and they work very closely. And that's one setup. And then you have even further away where corporates actually are the investors with others.
Others, yeah?
Yeah, they also have a few of those as well.
And do you know some corporates who invest into VC funds?
Yes, most do.
Most do, yeah.
We have some old ones from the 90s still hanging around because the time frame is so long.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's some more the independent funds. Then you have that like Swisscom is doing, like we're doing. We're investing from the balance sheet. So it's so now you call Telia company. So the main entity, Telia company, is now investing into the company and becomes a shareholder.
Okay.
So that's the kind of transactions that.
When does this name change happen, or is it?
It was a few weeks ago.
A few weeks ago. Okay.
So
who here has heard about Telia company before?
Let's see.
1, 2, 3 at least. Oh, 4. Okay, good.
But it's still Sonera here in Finland.
Okay. Sonera still in Finland?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So you then invest off the balance sheet. So then we, exchange cash for shares in the company in our balance sheets, basically.
Okay. Yeah.
Which for many corporates, that's it's a big advantage, because if you have different like operational expenses and investment expenses, and the investment expenses are kind of free, while if you have OPEX, it has to go out of the EBITDA gets lower, which is not a good thing. So that's why people do it on the balance sheet.
Okay, yeah. And well, as we're talking about Telia company now, and how long has Telia company been doing the corporate venturing?
Since the 90s.
Since the 90s.
But it's been up and down, and the changing of teams, and so.
Like, what's your strategy for doing the investing? Do you have any specific targets, or of course it's like mobile sector, telecommunication?
Yeah, it's something that drives new business, and it's what we call adjacent areas, everything around telecom where we can grow our business. And of course, the publicly known that we go into IoT, healthcare, security. It's lots of stuff around the traditional telecom services that we're doing. And also we only invest into companies that we are working with. So we have examples are, for example, Soundtrack Your Brand, which is the B2B version of Spotify, where we invested, and we have a strong partnership rolling out that service across the Nordic markets. We did the same with sound industries, who make the Marshall headphones and loudspeakers. So it's really more that it can be both B2B and B2C, but that we're more a distribution partner, that we believe in this product. The company needs money to take it a bit further, and we can then roll it out.
Okay, and like looking at the investments, let's say last couple of years, how many tickets per year, how many investments per year on average you
2, 3.
2 to 3?
Yeah, it's not more.
And how big? Okay, last year there's one quite big one from you.
Yeah, we don't make small, because the companies have to be relatively mature for us to work with them.
Yeah.
And I think that goes for all big corporates, because big corporates has a lot of requirements on the suppliers. One is the more formalistic part, that we have big procurement department, and it has to go via them. And they like to have stable companies with a long history, and not a startup. So if you come with a startup, they will say, okay, will this supplier be around next year? because they will look into the finance, they will say, well, they got funding, and next year they're out of cash, and we're going to launch this service to millions of customers based on a company that might not be around tomorrow, in a year's time. So it's a lot of that part, but also that the company has enough resources and a stable enough product to work with a big company. So we tend to invest into companies that have a product that's proven in the market somehow. Let's say they have 20 people, it's a real company, it's not an early stage thing.
Yeah, do they have to have revenues, or is it if they have customers who are not yet monetized, for instance?
Yeah, they don't have to have revenue, and they can even have us as only customer. So that is not.
Okay.
It's more that. But then Spotify, and getting back to the check. So then we get into like companies. We would invest like $3 million or euros. That's like the minimum threshold.
Minimum, yeah.
And that kind of sets the frame. It has to be a kind of established company. We also want to have good co-investors, like good VCs, well-known VCs. Because we trust their judgment.
Yeah, they have done the vetting for you partly.
Yeah.
Okay, good. And can you name some of the VCs, maybe Nordic or European, you have done co-investments lately?
Nordstone, Creandum, they're both into Wellington, they're into Soundtrack Your Brand. And then in Spotify, it's the who's who, basically.
Yeah.
And Spotify is a special case. Because there is a long cooperation history between
Spotify
and Telia.
Yeah, you started cooperation already like 6 years ago.
Yeah.
So can you tell me a little bit more about how did that cooperation start? And
so I just joined Telia a year ago, so I'm not. So actually many of the people that we've been working with that have moved on. But basically, Telia helped Spotify to scale in that sense that you bundled it with a phone.
Yes.
And that's a very powerful thing because, it's good for Spotify because they get a customer that's signed up for, already for a year or 24 months. And also rolling out in other markets. And then when that telecom model was proven, they've been very successful with other big telcos like Deutsche Telekom and so on. So that's been helping them to scale. And there's been lots of discussions about investing previously, and finally it was then in this round last year.
Yeah, and it was like more than 100 million.
150 million US.
150 million US. That's a big investment.
Yeah.
Why so late stage, and why did you decide to do it then in the end? Like if you were thinking of many year and you were...
New and brave management. That's the... Yeah. That's good, because we have a quite young management. They, when all these scandals were, they replaced the whole management and most of the board, and they got in some younger, dynamic people who are brave. So they dared to do this.
But there's somebody from Spotify in the TeliaSonera board, isn't there?
Yes, but then when that kind of because of conflicts of interest, obviously, when that's being discussed, he has to leave the room.
Okay. Yes. Good.
I mean, that you can't really, that's not allowed.
Yes.
But the main reason why the investment was done was because of the cooperation. So we have a cooperation running for over a year. And there are going to be some products announced at the Capital Markets Day, which is on the 21st of June.
Okay.
So that's some guys in my team working on that very, very hard right now. And there's going to be some demos by the CEO and stuff. So that's... that's going to be...
So far, so good with the investment?
Yeah, and as I said, the reason for the investment was not the financial, it's more to get this cooperation in place. So we have teams working together.
Together, yes.
Developing new products and lots of ideas. And that also benefits both, because we can, of course, learn a lot from Spotify. I mean, they're really a top-notch company in the development practices and how they do agile development and Scrum teams. I mean, they were a world player on that. I mean, their people have been writing books about it. So,
and of course,
so that we can learn a lot about, and how they select products and how they evaluate products. Because they come from an environment where they just want to have growth. They just want to have new users, and the profit will come later. And if you look into our business, it's highly profitable, and it's all much more about defending the profits.
Yeah.
And so it gets very interesting discussions, because we come from very different worlds, and we learn from them, and they learn from us. So that's really interesting.
But so, would you then consider, is Spotify a startup or not?
I don't think so, because I mean they're more than 1,000 people and global company. I mean, they're going to IPO sooner or later. I mean, they're really on that.
Yeah. So, is there any news on that?
I cannot comment on. I don't know.
Any rumors you have heard?
There are a lot of rumors.
Yeah. I think.
But what is public available is that they just raised $1 billion in a convertible loan. And so they don't really need to make an IPO very soon. Because the annual report was also released a few weeks ago for last year. And then they can see a lot of the financial details until end of December last year. So.
Okay. Well, I guess the Spotify is the biggest case you ever done, right?
Yeah, and probably the biggest one we will do. You never know.
Yeah.
But
so, is there? Okay, we are here in Finland now. Do you have any investments in Finnish companies?
Unfortunately, not. And that's I've been asked by our colleagues in Finland and our senior management why we don't have anything, because it's our home market, just as Sweden. But we're looking, and that's why I'm quite often here and my team. So.
Yeah, and what is stopping you, or what so far? How come there's no investment in Finland? Is it we don't have good companies here, or you haven't have the access enough, or why not invest in any Finnish company yet? Or how about Baltics? Do you operate in Baltics?
Yeah, you need some strong business sponsor, somebody who, let's say, Sonera here in Finland works with some startup. And they have very good cooperation, and it's something that can be multiplied in other markets. And they say, this is a great company, let's invest, then we will do it.
Okay, so
that's more that.
So you need to start locally before you can reach out to the mother company. Or,
no, so we are talking to companies, but because we also have global product management. And there are actually quite a few Finns working there.
Okay.
And they can also be the sponsors for the company. But it's not that we go out and say, this is a great company, we should invest and we should do business with them. And then convince the business people that they should be working with them. We have tried that. It's not very, and at Swisscom they've done that as well. It's not so good for the company, because if there is no real cooperation, it's really difficult to create.
So looking at the startup corporate cooperation, a little bit outside just the venture capital part, what do you see that? What would the things that can make it work for the startup to be working with the corporate? Is there some things that startups should be prepared to cooperate or get an investment for a corporation? It doesn't have to be only Telia company. It can be how is it different corporate venture capital to normal venture capital money?
I think.
Is it smarter money or?
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's different sides to it. So, the VC, they invest for financial return, or they should just do that. They should just look at, this can be a unicorn, and just give it some steroids, and it's going to, like a rocket, fly to the moon. I mean, that's what the VC wants.
Yeah.
The corporate, of course, wants to have a financial return, but that's not the objective. The objective is to create business. Revenue for our business, and develop new products that we can sell to our customers and get money for. That's our objective.
Yeah.
So we don't want to make stupid investments, and there's lots of really stupid corporate venturing investments that have been done and probably doing, because you see this hype cycle. Now it's very much corporate venturing, new corporate venturing units, investing a lot of money at very high valuations, and that's of course has happened before. And I know I've been in this corporate venturing for over 10 years, and in Telefonica, this is the third team that they do now.
Okay.
So they had a team like in the early 2000s, and then there was a team I was working with Telefonica Ventures around 2007, 2008. Then they were all fired, and then a few years later they restarted. I know the same with Vodafone Ventures, and that's kind of
so there's a lot of different. But how do you see what's the trend now? You say up and down.
Yeah, it's really, really up. I mean, if there is a confederation of corporate venturing units. So it's like last week was in London was the CVC summit, and you can just see there's so much more corporate venture capital available now than just a few years ago. Many new units. But getting back to but many big corporates have been doing this for a long time and have established processes and are very professional. And I think it's important if you talk to these guys, is that first of all you need to really work with the business, because if you just talk to some venturing guys, they can make the investment, but you really have to have a sponsor in the business that likes your product and wants to promote it. So for example, we have a investment company called Springworks that make a connected car solution, and that's launched as TeliaSonera. And we invested in the company because the people working in the connected car space really love this company, the great team, they're really supportive, and then it really helps the company. Yeah. And then at corporates, things take a long time. So you be prepared that it will not be 3 months, 6 months. It's a long-term investment. So therefore, it's really important to have this senior buy-in, and not just one person, because people might change in the organization, but several people in some area that really support it and really want to work with you over a longer time. So even if they replace one boss, you have other sponsors in the organization. And then, as I said, it takes much longer than you expect. Yeah. But in the end, it will be very, very rewarding.
Yeah, so how would you compare the traditional VC, what's the time for the first contact writing the check, compared to corporate venture VC? You mentioned it might take longer time. Is it also the decision-making takes longer, or how do you do the due diligence as a corporate venture?
So, I mean, if we have the go-ahead, it's really, really quick. So we have an investment committee that is the key people is so they're the one level below the CEO, and he's even joining sometime, the group CEO, Jan van den Lind. But the key people are the CFO and the senior vice president corporate development, and we have that every month. And we can reach them on email. We can make a decision in a week if we have to. So the decision is not the problem. We have to have, but we need to have a good cooperation, and we need to have some good sponsors, and then it's really quick. But that is what takes time.
Yeah. So the preparation part takes longer than the decision-making part.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you have everything for a decision, it's really quick. You get quick feedback. I mean, they will have lots of questions and stuff, but it's. If you have done your preparation well, that is not the problem. And it was the same at Swisscom when I was there. So that is not the problem. It's more that you have to have some solid partnership in place and some good support.
Okay, and a little bit looking at the future, and how do you see, like you said, that now the corporate venturing has been notably growing. There's more players, more money into the market. How do you see? Is it like a fad? It's like coming up and gonna go down soon? How's your feeling today? Or is it like is it boom come to stay for a little bit longer? Is it gonna be stick now, or is it gonna be?
Yeah, I think it's gonna stay longer because companies have learned from previous mistakes, so they get burnt fingers, and then and also the teams has been around longer, so they have more experienced teams, and also because business cycles are just going quicker, and with digitalization, everything is getting digitalized and disrupted. Yeah. Corporates, I mean, if you're a bank or whatever big company, you have to engage in this world. You cannot just sit, close the doors, lock the doors, and wait.
Yeah, because maybe it's part of it also, like because there's a lot of course, the talent escape from the corporates before. All the people want to work for the big corporate. But now they want to set up their own thing, right?
Yeah.
So maybe it's like corporates also trying to retain some of the talent cooperating with the smaller companies. How's your view on that?
Yeah, it's just that when I was at Swisscom, we did a lot of these kind of spin-offs. And that's very, very challenging because you have people that are used to having a title, position, a nice salary, secretary cooking the coffee, whatever. And suddenly they're in this startup environment where like, okay, where is the table? Well, you have to, it's coming from IKEA. It's just open the box. It's a big difference. And also that people, they have to take a big cut in the salaries and like even put in their own money. And for many people, that's a very big step. To say like, okay, I get, come home to the husband and say like, okay, I'm gonna get, 50% lower salary, and by the way, we have to take out another 100,000 euro mortgage on the house and put it into this company. Very few people are ready to do that.
Okay, before we're gonna have one or two questions from the audience, I'd like you to, if there's some startups in the space who are willing to or interested to cooperating or looking for investors to TeliaSonera, how prepared they should be and what they should do and when they would be the right time to get in touch?
Well, first of all, you should have some kind of interaction with our local companies. So to see that there's a need for your product and how it would fit in, in our business, it's relevant. And then when you have had that discussion, you see there's interest, then we can engage and have a discussion.
Okay, so through the...
well, we can talk directly as well, and we do that all the time. We meet interesting companies and direct them. So a lot of the companies I'm meeting here today, I will introduce to the right people in the organization.
Okay, so it goes both ways. Okay, that's good, that's good.
Yeah.
All right, let's see if would we have anybody wanting to ask Nils something about Telia company operations or investing? Hello? Anybody wants to give some tough question about Telia company corporate venture investing? Lady over there, raise your hand. No? You have something, final words you'd like to say to the crowd?
Yeah, I mean, Telia company is really keen to engage with startups and growth companies, and that's one of the visions of our CEO, and he's really pushing that, really supportive. And with Spotify and a lot of other companies, so we really want to change the old telco model to become a more, what we call new generation telco, so working more with the ecosystem and launching new services and stuff. So.
Okay. I think we're done. So thank you very much, Nils.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.